So I have to say, this is like specifically for prophets, people that I see as modern day prophets in, I guess, specifically like music. So although they're entertainers, they were also kind of on a mission for humanity. Like they had a bigger mission. And I think it's hard to see that when they're alive, when these people are alive, but then posthumously, when like they're paid tribute to for their lifetime and for all the work that they've done, that's when people kind of recognize that they had a bigger role, possibly. So maybe I'll pull out cards. I mean, let me just do one more of these. So I wanted to pull out cards specifically for the people that I'm looking at. Wow, that was fast. So I think I need one more for him. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so these are all people, I mean, they use their creativity, so that's kind of what this card is. It says creativity here. It's the Knight of Cups. It's an emotion. It's like connecting with emotions and acting from emotion and self-expression. This isn't completely creative expression, even though it does say creativity. It's emotional expression. So these were people that were tapped into their emotions, and that's how they connected. There's actually one more person I want to add, which I thought of. I think I was thinking of him last night. I'm just going to write him down in case I forget to mention. I mean, there are others actually that I can now think of, but I'm not gonna do everyone. These are like specific people that I think had a really, really big mission, and their music was kind of like secondary to their message, I think. Okay. It's like really powerful people. So what I'm hearing is they went through a lot of burden to get to where they were. They're through ancestry, but also through their childhood. They had like difficult karmic childhoods, difficult upbringings that brought them to a place where they had to see. It's like a lot of trauma. To me, a lot of times the tower, when I would see it in the past with clients, I would say this is like a broken home, or this is something where a home is falling apart, and it's the past. Six of Cups is the past. It's emotional connection from the past. So these people came from like a lot of trauma, dark past. They were truth tellers, the Ace of Swords. They kind of had to cut through any kind of lies or any kind of nonsense. They saw the truth. I think one of these symptoms of these people is that they were seeing the truth from a young age, but then they had to speak the truth as well. They had this compulsion to tell the truth, and they're very creative. They had both the Knight of Cups and the Magician. The Magician card is a card of creativity, but it's also a card of recognizing that you have this ability. It's not just the ability, it's the recognition. And the sword it's not just speaking truth, it's recognizing truth. So their biggest gift was their awareness and justice. They cared deeply. I'm so glad this card came out, and that it came out for the general feeling of these people, and not specific, because I think that's really what I was trying to tap into. These people recognized injustice, and they had a real need to fight for justice. And I think that the way that this comes up from my own experience in life and from people I've met, it's that you have a calling for justice because you've gone through some perceived injustice of your own. And a lot of times there are people who go through an injustice of their own are looking for causes that are similar to what they've been through that they can speak of, right? And they're tapping into the unconscious with the Moon card. So the justice is about correcting the unconscious in the world. They're seeing how people are kind of walking asleep, how they're sleepwalking through life, how they're not really aware of the pain that they're in or the pain and suffering that they're causing each other. And so these people came with a gift, and their gift was used either through their knowledge or not, but their gift was used in order to awaken humanity. And because it was through music, and music is something, it's not like politics, because politics, like, yeah, I was just thinking of this as I was putting the cards out. Like, there are also political prophets, but there are also like gurus and stuff. But then you'd have to really tune into their specific message. Music is universal. No one's needing to search it out. It's kind of there, and if you enjoy it and it makes you feel good, you're going to listen to it. And a lot of these musicians had like such high vibrations that they were able to tap into many, many different people, different countries, different nationalities, different political origins, different agendas when it comes to their religion and their politics and their race. And so everyone was connected. And I think that's an incredible feat, I guess. It's an incredible feat that they were able to do that with their music. So I'm just going to look in quickly at who I wrote down. Started out with Bob Marley. This is Bob Marley's energy that I picked up on. So I had Temperance. And Temperance is a card of balance. It's also feminine and masculine. It's the ability to balance out the feminine and the masculine within. And I was just watching a documentary. I mean, I don't have a lot of knowledge about Bob Marley. I do know a lot of his music, but I don't have a lot of knowledge about his personal life other than this one documentary that I watched about him. And I am also familiar with his family's music, and that, like, musically I'm connected, but I'm not really in terms of his story. But there's something here about uplifting the people through his own struggle of kind of connecting his, like, whatever was paradoxical within him, whatever forces were pushing him one side to the other. And he was also mixed race. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something about his father maybe leaving when he was young. I don't know. Something like that. Like, where his father wasn't really central in his life. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't want to speak like without knowing, but I think there was something in his childhood that made it kind of turbulent or kind of difficult to adjust to. Again, that paradoxical nature of two opposing things, that he had to keep these two things in balance at all times. He had a really special gift for telling people the truth in a way that's gentle through song. He was a person who overcame a lot of challenges. His life was a constant kind of overcoming. I was going to say overcoming challenge. What did I want to look up with him? So I also wanted to check lyrics while I'm doing this, just kind of randomly pick out lyrics from songs. But there was something I was thinking of now that I can't remember. Oh, I wanted to check his chart. And I'm not really doing these because of, like, wanting views. I think it's just something I'm feeling drawn to talk about, and I would talk to a friend about it, you know? It's just like I'm talking to YouTube. It's not really with the concern of whether anyone views this or not. It's just something I'm interested in. I'm going to see if I can pick out anything from his birth chart that's interesting to me to talk about. His midheaven was Virgo. Virgo is very connected with service, which is interesting. And then, Mars is Capricorn, and I think Capricorn is exalted in Mars, I believe. His ascendant is Sagittarius, so his descendant would be Gemini. And he's got Uranus in Gemini, Saturn, Cancer, in the 7th house. Okay, I'm just going over this for myself. His North Node was Cancer. His North Node was Cancer, South Node, Capricorn, and then what did we say? His Mars was Capricorn. So a big issue for him karmically was in his ability to fight and his ability to fight, his ability to stand up for things that he believed in. And what he actually needed to be doing more of was connecting with family, with his roots. And less with the people that he doesn't know. It's like he was really busy with business, because Capricorn is all about business. It's 10th house. What's going on in his 10th house? We have Libra 10th house, Neptune, True Lilith, Jupiter. No, Jupiter's in the 9th. Okay, so Neptune and True Lilith. It's kind of illusion. I mean, yeah, that's drugs. Neptune. But Libra is all about justice and fairness, right? That's the card of Libra. And his house of Libra, the 7th house, is ruled by Gemini. There's not much activity in there. There's Uranus. So his kind of big revolutionary moments actually happened in his love life, which is strange. Like his marriage partner, that's where a lot of revolution took over. Because I'm seeing Uranus there, and I'm seeing Gemini, and Gemini connecting, well, no, not Gemini, but Libra connecting with his career. Am I correct about this? Virgo. Okay, I just want to go back to what I was talking about before, unless there's anything else. I know he's an Aquarius. Aquarius are all about revolution and changing the world. He also had Mercury in Aquarius, which I didn't realize. And Mercury is about how you communicate and how you see things. It's like your view of the world around you. Interesting that his ascendant is Sagittarius, because it did make him very warm and friendly and open, engaging, right? Like a very fiery, engaging person. But guess what? His moon is in Scorpio. So that's really deep and dark. And he did, like, it felt like a lot of his music, even if it was, the vibration of it was like high and uplifting, the words could be really, really deep and dark. Like really seeing the shadow and bringing it to light, which is something that I really appreciate about him. And I think is what made him a particularly extraordinary kind of revolutionary, is that he was able to connect with all the people as the same. Something that I brought up in the Jesus video, which is why I'm doing this video now. He was able to connect with all people as if they're the same. But the other thing is, yes, he was interested in these bigger revolutions, but he was also interested in the smaller, like the intimate, the revolution of the self. And then Ziggy, his son, has a song called Personal Revolution. So I feel like that's connected somehow. I don't know. The next one, I'm just going to keep going here. Oh wait, I wanted to pick out some lyrics. See if I can do that. Bob Marley. I'm hearing the word stone, so I'm just going to intuitively trust that. Cornerstone, Bob Marley and the Wailers. I don't even know the song. I'm just going to see what the lyrics are. The stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone. The stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone. You're a builder. Here I am a stone. Don't you pick and refuse me, 'cause the things people refuse are the things they should choose. The things that people refuse are the things they should choose. Okay. Blind spot. I was concerned with people's blind spots. The things that they don't see, the things that they refuse, the things they're not acknowledging. It's very much like Carl Jung and The Shadow. Okay. I mean, I'll come back, possibly come back to Bob Marley. Sinead O'Connor is a Sagittarius. Okay, with Sinead O'Connor, there's instability. And I just said that and realized how insensitive it was because I wasn't thinking of her emotional instability, though that is something that's apparent knowing her work, her body of work, and a bit about her life. But I was really thinking of it in terms of things that she had to leave behind, like unstable foundations, like her home life. I did watch a documentary about Sinead O'Connor as well. So something about needing to leave things behind that were turbulent and emotionally toxic, specifically. And then the instability that caused her, there's like these waves here. It's like her emotional foundations were rocky. And that set forth almost as cracking. See, there's like cracking here on the wall. It's like a cracking open of something where she could not be silenced, or she could not be stilled, or she could not be calmed down. There's a level of hysteria, which I don't like that word because it's associated with how women were seen in the past as like manic or whatever. But yeah, there's like a level of hysteria and emotionality and rawness. But it's interesting that for her, like that wasn't a quiet, there wasn't like this need to be subdued. It was kind of made her more fiery and more passionate, and that's probably to do with her having fire in her chart, like the way that her birth chart was. There's something about childhood again, and working from childhood, like honing her skill from a young age, or possibly feeling that way throughout her life, feeling that she was constantly kind of belittled and a child and kept closed, kept confined somehow, and having to burst through her confines in order to get her voice heard. There's a strong masculine entity here who is loving. I don't know what that is. Let's see, maybe that's her energy actually. Okay, I mean the priest, so this could be like, that could be what it is, because I know she was connected with religion, and I think she converted to Islam, did she? I shouldn't be just saying things randomly, did. And I'm not really interested in their personal lives. I think I just want to know about their message and what it was. But I think there's something about their personal lives that helped cultivate their message. Yeah, so she converted to Islam in 2018, changed her name to Shuhada Sadakat. The Irish singer, also known as, has died, age of 56. Okay, she was ordained a priest. Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing here with the priest. I didn't know what this was. I just was like, maybe she was connected somehow to a priest. And I think she grew up really religious as well. There's confusion. There's a lack of clarity, which is interesting too, because I feel like her messages were really clear. I feel like she was very strong, but internally, there's a similar message with Bob Marley, where he had to hold contradictory messages. It's like both things are true. This is true and this is true, and I have to hold both contradictory energies or I won't be able to lead the people. And she had it as well, but it was more internal. It wasn't so much projected outward. Outward, you could hear a singular voice, like a really strong feminine voice. And that's how her messages went through. Eight of Wands, like fire, just like right through. So no blockage. Very strong. Let's see, I'm going to pull out her birth chart. And then I'll see if any kind of word comes up for her lyrics or something that I can think of that just pops up. She was born in 1966. Okay, December 8th, 1966. Let's see what I can pull out from this. So Sagittarius, Venus as well, and ascendant, which she shares with Bob Marley. That's interesting. I don't think it means anything, but it's interesting. Her Mercury was in Scorpio. She was also seeing the dark side of things. Neptune is also in Scorpio, all in the 12th house. And the 12th house deals with mental illness. It deals with prison. It was like the shady underbelly, secrets, prison cells, mental houses, like mental institutions, as well as religious places of worship. So Mercury was there in Scorpio with Neptune. It's kind of a hiding, like hiding out. And Moon in Libra in the 11th house. Oh, sorry, in the 10th house. So that was 12th house. 10th house, okay. 9th house, she's got a lot of activity. So she's a Sagittarius, not so surprising. Her 9th house has got a lot of activity too. She's got Pluto in Virgo, Uranus in Virgo, Mars in Libra. Mars in Libra, okay, that's part of that justice as well. And that's all hanging out in her 9th house. So 9th house is all about higher education and travel and culture and expanding the mind, philosophy. Jupiter and Leo in the 8th. Cancer, vertex and Cancer in the 8th. True North Node in Taurus, or South Node. South Node in Scorpio is a difficult one to carry. It's a difficult cross to bear. I mean, she also has a personal contact to that. Her Scorpio Mercury is going to be conjuncting, at least by sign, right? So her South Node and Mercury are connected. So the way that she communicated was connected with karma and pain. And the karma from her past life or from her childhood, from her early life, associated with other people, with sexuality, transgression, other people's money, secrets. So much about secrets with her revealing secrets, breaking the silence, speaking up against things that were happening to people. I think she had firsthand experience of as well within the church. Lilith in Aries, Saturn in Pisces. Fortune, Capricorn. Is there anything else with Pisces here? Not that I'm seeing, but she does have her midheaven. Is it? Let me see that. Midheaven in Libra. Okay, so Aries. Fortune in Capricorn. East Point, Capricorn. And West and Vertex in Cancer. Capricorn and Cancer. I mean, similar because Bob Marley also had that in his chart, but in different ways. There is this kind of need for structure and stability and institution. But then there's the home and the family life and the childhood having a very strong imprint on their messages that they had to say. So the mother in specific is very influential on both Bob Marley and Sinead O'Connor. I don't know why I'm comparing their charts, I guess because it's just fresh in my mind. And she didn't have a lot of constraints. I mean, Saturn in Pisces feels like very, but that is a generational mark that's not really personal to her. Mars and Libra. She was heavily Venusian, which is interesting. I wouldn't think of her that way. She's Venusian. I guess you could also see that just by looking at her face. Like, she had a really pretty face. Okay. What did I want to pick out? A lyric. Just freestyling here. So the word I thought of was condolences. There's a book of condolence, where people shared their sympathies. Printed and forwarded in a book. Okay. Let's find a different word I can think of. Can't really. Well, you tell us that we're wrong, and you tell us not to sing our song. Nothing we can say will make you see. You got a heart of stone, a stone you can never feel. Because the stone was the word I picked out for Bob Marley. Because I've carried my weight and I've been a strong man. It won't happen to me because I've carried my weight and I've been a strong man. Listen to the man in the liquor store yelling, anybody want a drink before the war? Okay. You live in the past and talk about war, and you dig your own grave, but it's a life you can save. So stop getting fast. It's not gonna happen. You're building a wall. Gotta break it down. Start again. Let's go back to that stone message. Where was that? You got a heart of stone you can never feel. So that was her, like, she felt like a little girl, and she needed to feel like a man. It's like a lot about masculinity, but it was a compassionate man that she was trying to embody this role and become a priest. She was trying to correct the things that happened in her past. Both of these things that happened in her past had to do with men and with the church and with priests. And the mother was significant because it made her feel like this little girl who was helpless. As the truth came out that way, and those were the contradictory messages in her mind. They came from masculinity and from religion. And what was that again? About a stone. God, my memory is always something about stone. You got a heart of stone you can never feel. Yeah. So feelings, that's why she was singing. She was trying to connect with her emotions. She was trying to open up that inner child, that girl. She was trying to connect with her, with herself. It really wasn't about anyone else. She had this interview where, like, people were telling her she's being bossy, and she said, I'm not bossy, I'm the boss. So the next one, Kurt Cobain. I know that's a weird one, just because of, well, I mean, Bob Marley also had, like, drug addictions and stuff like that, but with Kurt Cobain, I feel like you could feel the negativity more, but I don't necessarily think that someone who's coming up as a prophet or someone who's coming up as a leader, as a spiritual leader for the people, doesn't necessarily have to be full of light. Like, they could be speaking of dark things, or they could be living a dark lifestyle, but the way in which they're doing it is they're transparent about their darkness, and they're transparent about their struggle. They're not a hypocrite. They're not trying to say that they're good and everyone's evil. They're kind of showing everything. He was kind of out of control, right? He was kind of a mess, but yeah, that's kind of shown in the cards. I might pull out some more. We're starting with the priestess. So interesting that I felt with Sinead O'Connor, she's connecting with like the masculine and the church. And I feel that he was really connected with the feminine. He was really trying to connect with the feminine. Like, he was struggling to embody that or to show it or to have a healthy relationship with women, with his own inner feminine. So that's where the priestess is coming up as, this is secrets. This is knowledge that other people can't contain or won't contain or struggle to talk about. Sacred knowledge as well. There's divine feminine and wanting to protect the feminine and wanting to stand up for the feminine, but somehow he felt that he was the feminine. So it wasn't really like he's standing up for women because they're different from him. It was like he felt connected. The Queen of Swords, I don't know if this is a different person in his life or if this is him. This could have been him. I mean, so this is a woman who's embodying more of this like logical, intellectual, a lot of boundaries, pushing people away. There is this defensiveness with him. If you watch any of his interviews, I mean, it's playful and funny, right? He's kind of trying to be funny, but there's a defensiveness and there's a sensitivity, a vulnerability that feels like it's so much on the upfront, like it's so in your face that he has to kind of thwart it with some kind of joke that feels offensive or feels uncomfortable. And it's a way of saying like, oh, I don't actually give an F, but he does. And there's like that irony there. And that's something that I noticed with Kurt Cobain, is there's a similarity to the fictional character Holden Caulfield. I don't know why that is, but like, it's something that I picked up on. So with him, there's defensiveness, there's holding back, there's a feminine energy. There's also a connection to the church, but it's a much more feminine, it's a much more digestible connection. Like, it feels like he didn't have such a negative experience as Sinead O'Connor did. There's a sadness, there's a sorrow, there's grief, there's a loss of innocence at a very young age. The Five of Cups, there's a feeling of regret over things that happened, not even things that he controlled, but things that happened to women in his life and things that happened to him when he was too young to understand. Let's see if there's anything else. I got a weird message that like he didn't actually have a terrible experience. Like, from his perspective, it wasn't a bad experience. Like, the world got to see him kind of falling apart and then got to see his demise, but that even his ending was not like, I don't know why I'm seeing that. There's joy here, and he got to follow his dreams. He got to live out the things that he really wanted to do when he was younger. There's a feeling of like being able to put like a flag, stake a claim to something, to this kind of mountain that he was climbing. Very short life, right? That 27 club, which isn't even a word, not even a phrase I want to ever use, but because it's vulgar. But yeah, it's just kind of, he had a short life. Things happened really fast. Things happened fast for Sinead as well, but in a different way, more in communication. With him, it's I was just thinking of his band, because there's 3 members, 3 of Cups. There's joy here, there's celebration, there's getting together with people who are like-minded. It doesn't feel negative. There's also strong emphasis on sexuality with his pile, I know also Bob Marley. I wonder why that's not shown. Well, with Bob Marley, it's more like the temperance of wanting to heal. So wanting to heal himself, wanting to heal others. With Kurt Cobain, it's this, and I think that's his raw power that came through his voice. Was like, there's angst, obviously, and there's like anger, but there's also this like raw sexuality that felt like it was needing to break free. I don't know what that means. What does this mean? Yeah, oh wow. So that just made me sad. Because I was seeing this like uplifted message and I didn't feel like he had a sad time. But then it's like he had a lot of loneliness. He felt alone. And so his journey, very spiritual journey, incredibly spiritual. I mean, I would even say more, well, whatever. There's no need to compare, but just incredibly spiritual journey. He also had a rising in Virgo. It's opposite his sun sign Pisces. And his moon was Cancer. I remember some of his chart. There's hardships and constant trials, constant difficulties that he had to come up with, that he had to come up against. And he was going through everything on his own. And this is where the sexuality comes from. It's like a sexual frustration of feeling alone, of feeling, not like a black sheep. I mean, that could be part of it, but it's more like feeling alienated. Feeling isolated, feeling alienated, feeling like he had to carry burdens on his own. He had to go through things on his own. He had to overcome a lot of stuff on his own. I just want to pull out his chart. I don't even feel like I need to because I know it. But let's just do it. Let's entertain ourselves here. And if you think of Jesus and like how people portray him in iconography, like there's so much of him being this blonde, blue-eyed. He's probably more like Middle Eastern looking, like more Arabic looking, or he's Jewish. So Sun in Pisces, rising in Virgo, moon in Cancer. I knew that. His MC is Gemini. The 9th house, moon Cancer in the 10th. So his 10th house is your career. His career was connected with his emotions. And Cancer connected with the mother and early home life, which is so far as for all of these people, they're all working through their early home life issues. So rising is Virgo's descendant is going to be in Pisces. So he relates to people like they are him. He's not putting a separation between himself and others, but he feels foreign to his own image, feels foreign to how he portrays himself externally. Like that feels awkward. That feels like a mask to him. Uranus in Virgo, East Point Virgo, Pluto in Virgo. Mars in Scorpio, that's the sexuality. Mars in Scorpio, that makes sense. Neptune in Scorpio. So again, Neptune is like, if you're looking at drugs, drug addiction, that kind of thing. I mean, you're going to look at Neptune, you're going to look at the 12th house. He's got Leo in the 12th house. No, sorry. Is that Leo? 12th house, Virgo. How is that? Weird. I don't know. Then he's got Scorpio, Neptune. And Scorpio, I mean, a lot of it's about secrets and the hidden. Maybe he would have benefited from like psychoanalysis or something like that. Vertex in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces. So there's a lot of Pisces. Just said that Pisces can deal with addiction and escapism. So he's very Piscean, But he's also deflecting all of his Pisces qualities onto others because it's in his descendant. The way he's communicating, the way he's thinking of the world, it's very watery, very like intangible. It's hard for him to understand, probably frustrating himself because he's wanting to appear logical. He's wanting to appear like a Virgo. Virgo rules over Mercury. However, his Mercury is in the sign of Pisces, in the opposite sign. His Sun is in Pisces, his Venus is in Pisces, his vertex is in Pisces, his Saturn, which is what I was saying about Sinead O'Connor, where there's not a lot of structure. Feels like a baby trying to lift its back and like not having the support system in the back to like hold his torso up straight. And so mentally that's kind of well, it's aggravating for him because he's got Virgo there. So he's trying to appear more logical and more detail-oriented and more clear and precise. And like he knows a lot of details and he's already researched everything. But he feels like what is that term that everyone uses that I hate? Not a phony. So this is something that people say about themselves, that like they're an imposter. He feels like imposter syndrome. I really don't like that phrase, but so that's kind of his story. I'm just gonna see if I can pull out a quote from a lyric. That's not gonna be hard to do. Don't think. What else should I be? All apologies. What else could I say? Everyone is gay. What else could I write? I don't have the right. What else should I be? All apologies. In the sun I feel as one. I wish I was like you, easily amused. Everything is my fault. I take all the blame. And that's kind of like, okay, so that's where I was seeing him connected to his childhood. And interesting that he's also talking about marriage. And maybe through marriage, he's trying to like correct something from his childhood, correct something from a mother wound, because he's very much connected with the feminine and not really marrying a woman. I don't even want to say it, because I feel like he was more feminine than what he was attracted to or attracting. So what can we like glean from that as a prophet? Maybe not so much a prophet, but more so a person who's dealing with a lot of emotional issues and very transparent about it. And his transparency was shocking to people at a time where people kind of got so consumed with, I don't know, fashion or something, culture and fashion and being fashionable, and then like this whole grunge era, like kind of distorting that a little bit, making people question, because it had its roots in punk or post-punk or whatever. I don't even know. I don't know anything about this. But I guess just kind of he created a bit of chaos around him because he was transparent and because he was angry. And it was raw, but then he was also defensive and not wanting to be open about what was happening and what he was saying. So the next one, Tupac Shakur. And I do feel like so far the feminine is a very strong, the women are just really strong characters through this whole thing, as well as in the Jesus story that I was retelling there, Tupac Shakur. From the get-go, from him being born, kind of a miracle, kind of like something unexpected, something where he was an unexpected baby or an unexpected gift. And the way in which his life happened was unexpected. The people that came into his life, the things that transpired, things that other people felt, and I'm talking on a personal level, like probably before he even was famous, was just people felt that he changed things for them in ways that were unexpected. It was like a wind, a breeze, like a fresh change, things that happened that didn't make sense. And he created a lot of change around him. It's very enterprising, I don't know, visionary. Again, that kind of holding space for two contradictory things, but here he had two paths that he could have gone down. Like, he could have gone down a very different path in his life. He didn't choose to go down that path. I don't know what that means. There's something very singularly focused about, okay, I'm not going to go down that way. Because his life was a gift, and there's a good emphasis on that, and maybe that has to do with him, like, with his race. Like, something about his race and not feeling like he had the opportunity, even though I think his mom, she was like a Black Panther. Okay, so here the masculine is very strong. What was his star sign? So I'm doing this out of order. Because I don't know anything about his astrology. I'm getting Earth here. He doesn't seem like Earth. Seems like air, maybe? Or fire? I don't know. What's the star sign? Okay, so he is air and fire. So he's a Gemini with a moon in Aries. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting. And there's a strong masculine. Masculine in terms of provider. His gifts were really important, like from youth, and cultivated. And he was very interested in his own personal evolution. You're connected with his feelings, with his inner nature. We said Gemini and Aries. Wow. Because he chose a different path than the one that was right in front of him. I'm thinking like something with crime. So he didn't go down that path, or he didn't want to go down that path. There's actually something where he got his wishes because of this decision to kind of hone in on his own gifts and focus on his personal evolution, like his spirituality. He's a very strong person. So he's also connected with Leo somehow. And maybe his mother was a Leo, I don't know. But there's something very strong here about, well, a strong feminine character who led the way. And he was a very strong person because he was in tune with his emotions. And that was something that he chose at some point in his life where he was kind of faced with these two options, which way to go. So I think what he did for himself was the message that he gave to other people, that it's possible, that other people could have this life. Like, the strongest message he gave was that you too could have this dream. And he was quite a character. Like, his life wasn't very indicative of who he was. There's a lot more going on underneath the surface. I'm just going to see what I can pull from astrology, from his chart. Okay, Mars in Aquarius, Moon in Aries, Venus, Mercury, and Sun in Gemini, and Saturn. Venus, Mercury, Saturn. It's focused on the mind, focused on communication, focused on things that please him, things that he finds beautiful, art. Very disciplined, incredibly strong-minded. Not someone that you can, like, mess with, basically. Like, you can't tell him a lie. He's gonna know the truth. And his north node is also in Aquarius with his Mars. The south node in Leo. So his big karma, and I find that similar to south node in Scorpio, south node in Leo have a very heavy karma. And there's a lot of anger there. There's a lot of violence with Leo, specifically the south node. There can be this like arrogance or feeling of kind of like life owing you something. I don't know, something like that. So it's like there, Leo, we're talking about Leo. There's a strong energy of having to overcome and become more humbled by life. And that's when he started to choose his own evolution. So money was like a strong persuasive matter, and becoming a provider, becoming wealthy, having like being a model for others who went through difficult things in life. But sometimes that swayed him in a negative direction, and that's where he constantly had to choose the other path, the other way, and he didn't always do that. That's what I'm just seeing intuitively. I'm going to see if I can pull out a song. I don't even remember. I know, wait. One day at a time. Sometimes it's hard to wake up in the morning, mindful of demons I don't want to hear. Lost the lyrics. I don't want to hear them anymore. Got me heartbroken. Fine. So many babies screaming because they seeing destruction before they see a human being. So they start smoking weed. We'll never get our day until we learn to pray, keep our families in shape because they all broke. And why do ghetto birds die before we learn to fly? Somebody else's child caught in guns, smoking weed, can all make a change, so I'm told, but I haven't seen the change unfold. I keep hoping, please if you prefer to breathe, communities in need of people that will lead. Keep your eyes open. I can only say I'll try. Until the day I die, I promise to be wise. With my heart open, greed brings only misery. So that's from personal experience, is what I'm seeing in the cards. A way to tragedy, so I stay sucker-free. Only a chosen few rise, my ghetto queen, rise. Don't be afraid to try. Too many of us died to the door to open wide. In order for the door to open wide, too many of us died. My brother, be wise. Stay focused on the prize. Though everybody dies, we continue growing one day at a time. There's another lyric I just saw here. No light on. No lights on. Okay, that's YouTube. I'll play the music here. Interesting. Living in the projects broke with no lights on, no fairy tales for this young black male. Some see me stranded in this land of hell, jail, and crack sales. I was trying to say hell and jail, so it came out hail, whatever. Though life is hard, we carry on, living in the projects broke with no lights on, no fairy tales for this young black man. Come see me stranded in this land of hell, jail, and crack sales. Though life is hard, we carry on, living in the projects broke with no lights on. It's just another day. I wake up, it's more rock to break up. We take physical losses and y'all just take a pay cut. Plus, you take a mortgage loan to hold you home. But our credit is pathetic, they just let it be known. So they evict us. Got some of my sisters living in shelters. It's the system. The difference you teach your kids to know better. But you can go home. You know your mom and pop there. We can go home, but our life is out there. Lots of struggling. Lots of strife. Maybe things he witnessed around him more so, but also things that he went through himself. And then rising above that all. It's like a big story of resilience with the Strength card and accomplishing his dreams just from like tiny wishes. Tiny gifts, being able to put some words together and make it rhyme and make it sound cool. Like he was able to, I think, build a legacy for other people to look up to as well and get inspired from. And then it cuts barriers of like black and white and poor and rich. Like everyone's listening to his music and it doesn't matter. But he's able to get his messages across. This was unexpected. John Lennon. the reason John Lennon was unexpected, well, I don't know, I guess it's hard to see him as like this prophet, but he, like the Beatles didn't seem that way, but then when he was on his own, so what I do know with John Lennon is I think his father died when he was younger. And he had, like, there was some kind of horrific thing with his family. So home and marriage life, 4 of Wands. New beginnings in his finances. And then there's something around theft or deceit, like people lying, people cheating, people, all the evil coming out of the world, and he sees it, and then he finds love. It's weird. It's like a fairy tale. What does this mean? I'm getting that some of the cards are already used. I'm actually going to pull them back in and see if I can get messages for him. Keep these out. Justice was really important to him, I feel, and the truth. Maybe not in the same level as someone like Bob Marley or Sinead O'Connor, but different. He cared, okay, similar message there, I got it, because it was telling me that there's a similar message that was already used. So this is, Bob Marley's message was about connecting the feminine and the masculine, and then the Tupac Shakur of like making a lot of money, becoming this like role model, but also being someone who chose, he had like these 2 ways he could go down like a really negative path, and he chose a different one, and that's the same here with John Lennon. And really wanting for other people's well-being, but I think it started out as a more selfish thing. He was just kind of seeking out his own well-being, his own pleasure, his own positive story in life. And he had a slow change. Things came very slowly, or it felt that way. When he was finally able to create his family, like that was a big thing. And I also didn't even discuss like the way these people died, because a lot of them died, well, not a lot of them, but John Lennon died a violent death. And so did Kurt Cobain. Whatever you think happened there, I mean, it doesn't matter, it's open to debate, but he died a violent death. And Tupac Shakur died a violent death. So, like, people who died these violent deaths, there's something about when he was able to create his family, and the family that he left behind, like the final family that he left, not the original, not the wife that he divorced, but Yoko Ono and his son, Sean. Like, that was like a, I don't know, like a feeling of completion. Like, that was really what he wanted to create in this life. That family, that feeling of home. Like, it feels like that was more important, and then his son carries his legacy somehow. They're actually born on the same day, I just realized that. So love is an important message for him, but it comes after like a dark, like there's a price to pay for it. There's like a lot of other people with bad agendas, and then when he finds love, it's like there's purity. It's like everything is purified, like all the darkness that he believed in and the darkness that he saw, and the need to constantly make more records or make more music or become more and more famous and more money. And it just felt like a sickening path, like a dizzying, kind of unhealthy. Yeah, I'm almost getting like a fever feeling, and I'm up to an hour here, so I'm going to end this soon. But yeah, it's creating home and family. This is a mother. This could be seen as child, and then we have here 10 of coins. I mean, so much of this, right? Empress and the Emperor, new love, healing. This is the card of Aquarius. I think he had Aquarius, but I know he was a Libra. being a father and being a husband and being a provider. And I get that that's a weird thing because he had that before, but he wasn't, for whatever reason, that didn't work out the first time. Let's see. Again, I'm not like trying to focus on their personal lives. I get that that's what I did here, but it was more about trying to see like what their message was for humanity. And I get that part of their message was their personal lives, because at first he was just seeking his own happiness. And so what people were seeing in humanity is like, oh, a person can create a lot of success for themselves, right? Someone from a small town like that, and whatever his background wasn't that great. But then through like lies, through seeing the hypocrisy in it all, he chose love, and then the songs and the music changed. Does that make sense? So the way that people were connecting with him was different. I'm seeing Aquarius, which is what I was thinking. So he's got Moon in Aquarius, and his sun was Libra. And we had the star here. Aquarius is, I mean, it's the card of the star, so it probably has some connection with stardom, because Aquarians are different. They think differently. They're trying to do things differently. They're kind of marching to the beat of their own drum, right? Ascendant is Aries, descendant is Libra. So again, that issue, similar to what Kurt Cobain had, was like he was projecting outwardly himself onto others, like we're all the same. Thinking that everyone is the same, thinking that we're all equal and we're all the same. And there's beauty to that idealistic kind of message, but it's not true, because we all live different lives and we all come from different histories, but there is some beauty to that, right? It's an ideal to strive for. In reality, it's different. And that can often create that kind of, well, it can create enemies. It can create people who will antagonize the person because they think this person's above me, and they're trying to say that we're, it's unhealthy, but yeah. Mars in Libra, Sun in Libra, North Node in Libra. Okay, so same message here, that double cross to bear of both his descendant and his South Node conjunct his Sun. Am I correct? No, not correct. His North Node is conjunct his Sun, so different message here. North Node, it would be that he's struggling to be himself. So he's constantly having to find himself, and he's constantly projecting himself onto others with that descendant. Mars in Libra, there's a fight for justice, there's a fight for equality, there's a fight for peace. It's fighting for peace, which is an oxymoron. Mercury in Scorpio, just like, who was that? Sinead O'Connor, is speaking about the evil, seeing the evil everywhere, speaking of it, bringing the shadow out. But he really wanted to uplift people towards peace and towards love. And I'm thinking because his Sun is Libra, and his Mars is Libra, he had a more active approach. He wasn't all talk. But he struggled because he was seeing everyone as equal, and he wasn't seeing that actually, if he wants to be active for other people who aren't equal, he needs to be able to get intimate with their story. And I don't think that was so much what he was about. He was just putting the music out there, sending the message, and hoping for the best. Okay, lyric time, and then we can be done, I think. I might, there might be more parts to this if this is interesting, but this is as much as I wanted to do with it. Mother, you had me, but I never had you. I wanted you, you didn't want me. So I just got to tell you goodbye. Father, you left me, but I never left you. Oh my God. I needed you, you didn't need me. So I just got to tell you goodbye. Children, don't do what I have done. I couldn't walk, and I never tried to run. So I just got to tell you goodbye. It's kind of a, I mean, if I need to interpret this weirdly for this whatever this video is, feels like he had a lot of wounds from his childhood. Again, this theme just kind of keeps coming up. Feeling abandoned by the father. Feeling that his mother gave him a lot and he could never repay it, or he could never be what she needed him to be. Feeling that he had to cut his losses, cut the ties to the past, to his childhood, and almost like be an orphan at a young age. Almost that feeling of like, couldn't really, I'm gonna look up another lyric. Couldn't really find himself until he was on his own. And then always feeling like he betrayed his past, or he wasn't good enough for his past. I told you before, stay away from my door, don't give me that brother. The freaks on the phone won't leave me alone, so don't give me that brother. Now that I showed you what I've been through, don't take nobody's word what you can do. There ain't no Jesus gonna come from the sky. Now that I found out, I know I can cry. I didn't know these songs. Some of you sitting there with your cock in your hand. Don't get you nowhere, don't make you a man. I heard something about my ma and my pa. They didn't want me, so they made me a star. Wow. It's like a message there. I wonder why that's a repeating message. Feeling unwanted. And so he became the star, and the star is Aquarius. She has in his moon sign. And what is Aquarius, right? Aquarius stands out. Aquarius is different. Aquarius is defiant. They rebel. They go against what society's norms are. And if he felt this kind of rejection from his childhood, from his upbringing, from his home, right? Because I was talking about home life, I was talking about marriage, and I was talking about how important it was when he finally had a family, that was the real thing that he wanted to achieve his whole life. And I didn't know these songs, I just pulled them out randomly. He found love with Yoko. I'm guessing that's what it was. Wow. And then that there was peace when he died because he found these things. A similar message with Kurt Cobain, but with Kurt Cobain I felt more that he achieved his childhood dreams. Like he showed his little self, his childhood self, that these things were possible, and that he made it come true for himself. With John Lennon, it's like he really wanted a family, he really wanted a home. And then when he got it, it was like everything healed. That's as far as I'm going to go with this. We'll see if I come back to it at a later time. Might be interesting. Let me know what you think.